Welcome to BBC News. We are back with this evening's headlines. Dr. Andre Tayes has shaken the media tonight when it was revealed that he has donated a whopping $5 billion to the National Association of Genetic Disorders. As you can see, in his short 16 years of life, he has accomplished many things, such as graduating from every Ivy League college and winning competitions in various fields. You may already know Dr. Andre Tayes from his unbelievable breakthrough in the medical world just a couple days ago, as you can see in this newspaper from the Washington Post. Medical prodigy makes unbelievable breakthrough. Medical prodigy Andre Tayes has been nominated as a Nobel Prize recipient after discovering a cure for cancer at just 24 years old. "I don't consider myself a superhero," said Tayes, "just an ordinary man helping others." Today, we welcome Dr. Tayes to our newscast to discuss his exceptionally generous act of kindness, and hopefully we can get him to shed some light upon his most recent project. So Dr. Tayes, how did you discover your love for genetics?
My inspiration for my career came from my AP Bio class in my junior year of high school, taught by a wonderful teacher, Mr. Jacks. Through his class, I discovered my passion, formed lifelong friendships, and was able to find joy in the subject. If you go to Harker Heights High School, you can enroll in it too.
Wow, thank you for your response. This was such a generous donation that even President Biden himself wants to thank you personally.
In the grand scheme of things, my donation was minuscule.
That's what they all say. Anyway, that was Dr. Andre Tayes, and we encourage our viewers to support him in his work. We will now move on to an interview with Dr. Andre Tayes by our reporter here in just a second.
Dr. Andre Tayes, it is an absolute pleasure to meet you. I have heard so many great things about you, but I think the audience would be curious to know what you're working on, right?
Most recently, I have been working on studying the genetic disorder known as congenital insensitivity to pain. Have you heard of it before?
No, but I'm assuming it has something to do with not feeling pain?
Precisely. So to be more specific, this condition causes the afflicted member to not be able to experience any sensation of pain and sometimes temperature, although they can still feel light touches.
No pain? Sounds like it could be nice, doesn't it?
I beg to differ.
Oh?
You see, having an inability to feel pain is very detrimental to health and can even lead to an early death. For example, someone with this condition could have unknowingly stepped on a rusted nail, and it could be hours or days before they notice. The nail could have very well infected the wound, which could lead to very dangerous effects, such as the development of tetanus.
Oh wow, so I guess having pain is very important to us.
There's a reason why people say pain is what makes us human.
So can you tell us about the world's first encounter with this disease?
First, I'll begin with some background information. This condition was first recorded by a man named Dearborn in 1932, and it was named congenital pure anachalasia. However, there were cases that resembled this condition prior to its official discovery, the earliest one, 1846, found in Leplat's medical dictionary.
Interesting. So could you explain how one could have this disease?
Absolutely. So this genetic disorder stems from a molecular defect that mutates the functions of the NTRK1 gene, which encodes the tyrosine kinase receptor A gene. This protein is a receptor that is phosphorylated in response to nerve growth factor and mediates the normal binding of NGF. NGF is critical for the survival of sympathetic ganglion neurons and nociceptive sensory neurons in the dorsal root ganglia. This is a picture of the subcellular location where these proteins can be found.
Ah, I see.
So basically, to put this in simple terms, the mutation of that particular gene prevents the binding of nerve growth factors, which are essential for processing pain.
Ah, okay, I see now. So what can someone with this disorder expect in their life?
Unfortunately, people with this disorder typically have shorter life expectancies. As I said before, afflicted individuals don't feel pain in any part of their body when injured. Interestingly enough, though, they can differentiate between extreme temperatures or sharp and dull.
But not the pain.
Precisely. Due to the lack of pain awareness, health issues and wounds accumulate and can be overlooked or disregarded, resulting in a lower life expectancy for individuals with congenital insensitivity to pain. Oftentimes, the wound grows to be so severely infected that fingers, toes, and sometimes even entire limbs have to be amputated.
Can they really feel no pain at all, or are there limits to their inability to feel pain?
Many tests have been run on patients with congenital insensitivity to pain, although many of them were too unethical to be used frequently. Inducing pain, even if the pain is minor, especially for children, is exceptionally unethical.
We do agree on that. Could somebody live safely with this disorder?
Although it would be exceptionally difficult, it is possible with frequent checks for possible unfelt injuries.
Okay, so is there a current cure or treatment out there?
There is currently no cure for congenital insensitivity to pain, although there are ways to raise the life expectancy of those with this condition. Educating them on proper ways to check for injuries, as well as teaching them first aid, goes a long way in keeping their injuries from growing in severity. Additionally, making sure that they know what can hurt them, such as touching a hot stove, cutting themselves with sharp objects, sitting on radiators, and other possible avenues in which they can be injured, will assist in their caution in activities that they partake in, because they know that if they get injured, they will not notice it. So while it cannot be cured, the life expectancy of people with congenital insensitivity to pain can be increased by teaching them caution and diligence.
Is there any research being done on possible cures for congenital insensitivity to pain?
Yes, some research into opioid receptor antagonists, a receptor antagonist most commonly used for people who have overdosed on opioids, has been used to find some partial successes in people with channelopathy-associated congenital insensitivity to pain.
Wonderful! I hope more advances are made in this field, as I am sure there will be numerous applications for it in the future. So Dr. Tayes, can you explain the images you've provided to us?
This bar graph shows us how the symptoms of this disorder appear in the early years of childhood. We see that there is a sudden increase in individuals over 2 years old who are inflicted by unknown fevers in normothermia, hypothermia, and hyperthermia. This picture is just an example of what many individuals with congenital insensitivity to pain go through, and as you can see, this individual's unawareness of a toe infection progressed into something much bigger. Through this pedigree, we know that this disorder is inherited recessively. So as you can see, this chart depicts a pedigree of a certain family affected by this disorder. Individuals 1 and 2 in generation 2 have this trait, but their parents do not. This shows us that this disorder is an autosomal recessive trait. Here is another chart showing the early symptoms of this disorder. It depicts several patients afflicted by this disorder, the gender, age of diagnosis, and how many fractures and subsequently amputated fingers and toes they had. This information shows that patients with congenital insensitivity to pain are often diagnosed before infancy ends and often receive several bone fractures and amputations before they are just 10 years of age. Oftentimes, less than 1/3 of the afflicted patient's siblings are also diagnosed with this genetic disorder.
Thank you for allowing us to interview you today. It has been a pleasure having you on BBC News.
I'm glad to have been able to discuss my research here, and I hope to be able to fulfill your wish for advancements in this field.
If you know someone who has congenital insensitivity to pain, you can help them in a variety of ways. Always keep first aid supplies in case you see them get injured and they don't notice. As Dr. Tayes said earlier, the best way you can help them to manage their condition is by making sure that they know what can hurt them and how best to avoid it. That's all the time we have for today, folks. Thanks for tuning in and see you next time on BBC News.